A betrayed woman uses her charms to teach her womanizing neighbor a lesson. This sets off a heated battle that challenges both their beliefs about love. One morning, Xena waits her date, Sasha, and warns him that her husband will be home soon. This surprises him since he didn't know she was married. Just as he groggily gets dressed, Sasha finally notices the photos in the bedroom, suggesting that her husband is a boxer. Now with urgency, he hurriedly tries to leave only for Xena's husband to arrive down the hallway. Desperate, Sasha holds the lock to prevent the man from opening the door. This ends up with the boxer breaking his key, so he rings the doorbell for his wife to welcome him in. When he recounts how he broke his key, Xena makes up a rumor that robbers break the locks of the houses they target. Soon, the couple spends time in bed all while Sasha's hiding underneath. Once her husband's distracted enough, the woman gestures for him to escape. With that, he gets to the door only to realize that the lock is actually jammed now. As he tries to unlock it, the husband hears him, so he goes to confront the intruder thinking he's a robber. Luckily, the door unlocks in time to let him run. The boxer chases him but slips, forcing him to give up. Meanwhile, at the police station, Katya is questioned after her ex-boyfriend's car was set on fire. Her ex suspects that she did it, so investigator Abramstev asks about the breakup. Katya recounts that she and her ex were supposed to meet at his apartment after work. She finished work early, so she thought of surprising him only for her to hear screams from his apartment. When asked how the screams sounded, Katya starts making intimate sounds, alerting a superior officer outside to check on her. Moving on from this, Abramstev asks what happened after, so Katya claims that she just left. The man doubts a woman would have just walked away after learning that her boyfriend was cheating, so he speculates that Katya burned his car in revenge. With that, he asks for her whereabouts last night. Just then, Katya leans forward, presenting herself to the officer as she recounts her movements from last night. She even mentions how she satisfied herself in the shower last night, piquing the officer's interest further. Finding himself completely distracted, Abramstev decides to release Katya. In contrast to this sultry persona, Katya later mourns over her 2-year relationship. Her friend Lena assures her that she'll find love again, but Katya declares that she's done with love. The next day, Sasha decides to move as he fears that the boxer will find him. With that, he checks out an apartment which turns out to be next to Katya's. The woman steps out just as she gets a call from a suitor whom her mother recommended. Not wanting to invest her time in him, she lies to the suitor that her husband was just released from prison after serving time for murder. This forces the man to back off. Meanwhile, Sasha checks out both the apartment next door and the realtor, Olya. Later, Katya presents her design for a new school, but her client rejects her work. This puts her in an awful mood. Yet as she's marching out of the office, a group of friends gets attracted to her. One of them approaches Katya and asks if she knows how a plane flies. Unamused, the architect explains to him the science of an airplane structure before telling him to stop using such a lame pickup line. She then walks off, leaving the man confused. Elsewhere, Sasha works as a programmer when his colleague, Dima, tells him that a burly man is looking for him. This makes Sasha nervous, thinking that it's the boxer. However, Dima laughs since he was just joking, but warns his friend that he should be more careful with women since they might get him killed. Despite this, Sasha continues checking on women when the two go to a club later. He soon catches Nastya's attention. The next morning, Olya visits Sasha while wearing nothing under her coat. This begins another intimate encounter between them. After the deed, the woman meets Katya by the elevator. Katya assumes that she's her new neighbor, but Olya responds that her boyfriend lives there instead. On another day, Nastya visits Sasha hoping to rekindle their passion. Katya steps out of her apartment just in time to overhear them speak, learning Sasha has another lady over despite Nastya claiming to be his lover. As Nastya tearfully leaves, Katya rushes to join her in the elevator. She assures her that her neighbor isn't worth her tears, so Nastya spitefully declares that Sasha will meet someone who'll break his heart one day. This gives Katya an idea. She visits her neighbor the next day, meeting him for the first time. Using the facade of the innocent girl next door, she charms him and passively mentions that she's alone. This is effective on Sasha. He even mentions her to Dima later, commenting that Katya might be why fate forced him to move apartments. Dima discourages him from tricking his neighbor, since if it doesn't work out, he'd have to move again. Instead, Sasha thinks Katya will move out after he dumps her. In contrast, Katya shares with Lena how she's plotting against Sasha, seeing him as another man who's only interested in using women to satisfy themselves. To start, she places a nail in front of Sasha's car early the next morning. This flattens his tire when he tries to get to work. That same day, Katya hears loud moments of passion from the neighbor's apartment, frustrating her. Later, Sasha rings her doorbell, so Katya removes part of her shirt to pretend to be bare while answering the door. The man asks to borrow salt and the woman agrees, commenting how men who can cook are attractive. He then invites her over for dinner, but she gently refuses, claiming she's on a diet. This frustrates Sasha after, given that the salt was just an excuse to invite her over. The next day, Sasha recounts to Dima how Katya answered her door unclothed. Dima warns that Katya has made even Sasha's home a place of temptation, but his friend isn't deterred. Later, he waits until Katya gets home so he can catch her by the elevator. However, as they step into the lift, the woman pretends to have left her keys in the car, forcing the man to ride the elevator alone. As he fails to get her alone, the man becomes increasingly frustrated. This makes him wonder if he's losing his charm. Dima instead believes that this is a sign to either give up his intentions with Katya or stop his playboy ways. Sasha refuses to back down, so he soon visits Katya and hints that they can have tea together. However, the woman claims that she's with someone already. The man soon complains about this to Dima. He thought Katya had been flirting back with him, yet she was with another man. Dima suggests that maybe he's misreading her actions, but again, Sasha refuses to believe this. He waits to catch Katya by the elevator again. While waiting for the lift, he mentions how someone has pierced his tire 4 times already. Katya feigns concern and suggests that maybe he'd offended someone, like a vengeful woman. Finally, the two get on the elevator and the tension between them builds up. Sasha breaks the ice by apologizing for interrupting her the other day, so Katya assures him that she was just with a friend. They arrive at their floor and Sasha finally asks her on a date. With this, the two go to the bar that night. Complimenting her beauty, he wonders if she's a model or a TV presenter, but Katya lies that she's a secretary. Just then, Sasha receives a message, allowing Katya to peek at his phone's pin. The man sees an invitation from another lady, but his focus is on Katya, so he ignores her. With his attention solely on her, Katya hints that she wants to go to the beach with him. The man agrees, so he drives her to the beach with Katya acting seductively towards him. When they arrive, Katya flirtatiously orders the man to remove his clothes in the car, so the man obliges. He even steps out of the vehicle to undo his pants before throwing his clothes back into the car. However, once he's bare, Katya gets in the driver's seat and locks the door. She berates him for thinking that she'll let him touch her with his typical tricks. The woman even belittles his manhood before driving off, leaving him with nothing on. With no choice, Sasha walks home with only a road sign to cover him until officers spot him. Meanwhile, Katya arrives back at the apartment and unlocks the man's phone, seeing that his contacts are filled with women's numbers with notes on what appearance he likes about them. Soon, Sasha and the officers confront Katya for stealing his car. The woman claims that he let her borrow his car earlier before pulling Sasha into her home to talk privately. With the cops outside, she warns her neighbor that if he doesn't drop his accusations, she'll claim that he tried taking advantage of her. Because of this, he's forced to tell the cops that she's innocent, convincing them to leave. Once they're gone, Katya shoves the man out of her home. The next day, Sasha rants about what her neighbor did to Dima. The events further convince him to never fall in love again. Dima, however, believes love still exists, given his happiness with his girlfriend. He defends that love isn't just about bedroom activities, adding that he and his girlfriend are comfortable being with each other. This makes Sasha think of his choices. On another night, he finds himself trapped in bed while Katya wears a catsuit. Instead of pleasing him, however, she grabs a bat to hit him. Luckily, this is only a nightmare. Sasha wakes up to Olya surprising him again, but despite her eagerness, the man can't reciprocate, leading to a disappointing time. Since this has never happened to him before, Sasha goes to the hospital, but the doctor doesn't see anything wrong with him. Instead, the doctor suggests that he's just stressed, so he advises him to take a break from women. Still, the man blames his neighbor for distracting him, so he uses power tools at home to bother Katya. This goes on for days, so Katya buys a vibration speaker and uses it to play insect sounds into Sasha's wall late at night. This keeps him up for days, making him drowsy during work. He gets himself checked in the hospital again, but the doctor notes that since he only hears noises at home at night, maybe something in his building is stressing him out. This leads Sasha to realize that Katya might be causing the noise, so he confronts her about it. She admits to creating the sounds, but warns him that she can make things worse if he doesn't stop bothering her. Not backing down, Sasha follows Katya to work the next day. He then approaches the office secretary and pretends to be a courier delivering something to Katya. With this, the woman takes the package to the meeting room where Katya is speaking to her clients. Just then, then, one of Katya's coworkers approaches. Assuming that he's a suitor, he warns Sasha not to pursue the woman since she hates men. However, he adds that the woman is a fantastic catch. Despite hearing this, Sasha activates the device in the package as soon as her coworker leaves. The box begins vibrating, so Katya is forced to open it to turn it off. To everyone's surprise, inside is an intimate item, embarrassing the woman. The angered woman later bangs on Sasha's door, knowing that it was him who sent the item. However, he plays loud music to ignore her. After hearing what he did the next day, Dima thinks Sasha's taking things too far. Sasha defends that she almost got him arrested, so what he did is little compared to that. Just then, Sasha is summoned by the police. Nervously, he meets Abramstev as one of the ladies he went out with has accused him of taking advantage of her. This forces Sasha to recount their night together in detail. However, the investigator is confused as to why he's saying all this. Sasha explains that he was called in to make his statement, but Abramstev reveals that they don't even have any records of someone accusing him of anything. This makes Sasha realize that it was Katya who sent him there. Pissed, he storms into her apartment later, scaring the woman. She throws items at him to keep him away and threatens him with a blade, so Sasha backs down. Finally, he offers a truce until his lease is done and he can move out. Wanting to stop this as well, Katya agrees. With this truce, the two try to ignore each other over the next few days. While this keeps things at peace, tension continues to build between them. Soon, Sasha mentions to her that he'll be moving out soon. This prompts them both to apologize to each other before continuing with their lives. One night, Katya mentions that he's moving out to Lena, asserting that things will go back to how she wants it, with no man to bother her. However, Lena wonders how Katya gets physically satisfied, and the woman drunkenly declares that she'll use that energy for her creativity instead. Late that night, however, a drunk Katya walks up to Sasha, showing herself to him and wondering if he wants her. He admits that he does, and this satisfies the woman, so she goes home. As soon as she wakes up in the morning, however, she regrets doing this. With that, she later invites Sasha to lunch to apologize for what she did. She takes him to a cafe in a building she designed. This has the man confirming that she's a career-oriented, man-hating woman. In turn, Sasha admits that he's a player, though he stopped that already. He adds that he's a programmer working on an educational game for children. Coincidentally, Katya's working on building a school, though her design was rejected. The man assures her that her design must have been great, but she accuses him of flirting with her. Dima later learns of the lunch date, appalled that his friend even agreed to it. However, Sasha assures him that Katya was actually nice. Meanwhile, Katya shares the same encounter with Lena, admitting that he was actually nice for once. The two meet at the elevator to their apartments later, with Sasha offering to buy her dinner in exchange for their lunch earlier. He assures her that it's not a date, so Katya accepts. With that, they have dinner, and moving past their awkward phase during lunch, the two start relaxing around each other, even laughing off about their previous feud. This goes on for hours until a waiter warns them that it's closing time. While walking back home, Katya asks her neighbor why he wants to have many women. Sasha admits that he doesn't believe in love but still desires to be with beautiful ladies. Katya then wonders if he'd fallen in love, so Sasha admits that he had, only to discover that the woman was only using him to make her ex jealous. Before getting into their apartments, Katya admits that she enjoyed the night, which her neighbor reciprocates. Later, Sasha finds himself dreaming of being intimate with Katya, only for her to turn into a vampire. He shares this dream with Dima the next day, and his friend thinks it means he should avoid the woman. Since he's moving out on Saturday, he just has to avoid Katya for a few more days. With this in mind, Sasha decides to spend the night in the club only to find Katya there. The two admit that they went there to avoid the other, and ultimately, they enjoy each other's company instead. As they drunkenly ride the elevator to their apartments later, the two become increasingly drawn to each other. Finally, they head to Sasha's apartment where the man confesses his feelings for his former enemy. Katya returns the sentiment and the two share their passions in bed. The morning after, however, they both blame their drunkenness for their actions, refusing to admit to their feelings. Soon enough, Sasha moves out without saying goodbye to Katya. Later on, Katya clings to the sweater he let her borrow on their night together. She then goes to return the sweater, but no one answers the door, unaware that he is already moved out. The next day, she visits him again but finds another woman there. Thinking that Sasha just slept with someone else, she storms into the apartment but discovers that the people there are her new neighbors. After apologizing to them, the woman contemplates calling Sasha but decides against this. Unbeknownst to her, Sasha waits for her outside inside her office the next day, also wondering about reconnecting. Later, Dima sees that his friend is still upset about parting ways with her, so he tells Sasha to talk to her already. Sasha disagrees, believing that his feelings are only temporary. Instead, he decides to get another lady. At night, Sasha goes to a club where he meets Lena, not knowing that she's Katya's friend. The next day, Lena learns about Katya's dilemma, so she advises her friend to call the man. However, Katya doesn't want to be just one of Sasha's many conquests. Thinking this, Lena complains about being turned down by the man she was dancing with last night. He claimed to have realized that he was in love with someone else. To Katya's surprise, Lena shows her a photo of her mystery man, who turns out to be Sasha. Because of this, Katya rushes back home and finally calls Sasha on her way. She uses the sweater he left as an excuse to see him, only to find that the man is already waiting by her door. Being completely sober this time, Sasha confesses his love for her. Katya delightfully reciprocates, though she warns him not to cheat on her. Sasha promises, and the troublesome couple finally share a heartfelt kiss.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.